James Ernest of the Grueling Truth here on MMA Ground and Pound with the legend, the Chief, Andre Roberts. So where's the nickname come from?
That came from a Blatnick. And he announced one of my fights. So I just, Jeff Blatnick, so I stuck with it. What the heck am I doing?
Did you grow up boxing, or what sports got you originally started?
Well, it was football. Actually, it got me started. Watching all those, I didn't really have a team, but I remember watching the Packers and the Bears. You'd be in Central Iowa, that's the only team we could watch, was Bears, Packers, Vikings, the Chiefs. But I admired the two middle linebackers from the Bears and the Packers, which was Dick Butkus with the Bears and Ray Nitschke from the Packers. I loved how violent they were.
Exactly. Two of the most intense defensive players probably in the history of football.
Yes, exactly right.
So, going into MMA, where did you start your training at?
Make a long story short, my brother, Tyrone, who also fights, he still fights.
Oh.
He come up to me one time, he showed me a tape of, I think it was UFC 3, and it was a tank knocking the heck out of somebody. And I say, bro, that looks pretty violent. I don't think you'd ever catch me doing that. He said, well, funny you might ask, because I'm training, getting ready, there's like a tryout or something in Des Moines, Iowa. And Monty Cox and Pat Miletich were a part of that. He said, help me train for that. And since we both wrestled, we were both state champion wrestlers, and we did some boxing, we just trained in boxing and wrestling, and that's how I got my start.
What weight class were you when you were a wrestler?
Heavyweight. I weighed exactly 280 pounds.
Did you have any coaches that were very influential on your wrestling or your MMA career?
MMA, it definitely was Pat Miletich. It definitely was. I mean, he was even back in the day of the early years of MMA. He was pretty knowledgeable. I mean, my ears were all. I opened up my ears and just listened and absorbed everything he taught us. And as far as wrestling, there's a coach I hear named George Corm at South Kama. He was pretty influential in my wrestling career. As well as with, I went to a boarding school in South Dakota, Flanders, South Dakota. There was a coach there by the name of Gerald Schuchart. Mm-hmm. I loved him. Well, I loved all my coaches, actually.
How do you feel MMA has evolved from the early days to modern times?
Oh, immensely. Back in my day, when it was the early MMA, and you just had, let's just say you had a wrestler go up against a boxer or kickboxer going up against a karate guy. Just these one-dimensional fighters that go up against another one-dimensional fighter. But today's fighters are well-rounded. I mean, striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. It's evolved considerably from my days.
You originally started with the organization Extreme Challenge. What were the differences between it and UFC?
Back in the day, mm-hmm. I would say there was no differences. It was just get in there and brawl, do your thing. But one esteem, Monty would have these cheap gloves. I mean, I broke my hand. Broke my hand a couple of times. But from back in the day, I would say the UFC had much better gloves, better hand protection.
Yeah, I was going to say, shoot, as hard as you were hitting some of those guys, that's understandable you'd end up breaking your hand. I mean, most of your wins were with knockout. How were you able to hit so hard and be able to focus your power like that?
Well, I was kind of wild at the beginning. And then, I think it was, pretty sure it was Pat that told me to take my time and pick my shots and don't be so wild and aggressive. But at the time, it was, you know, when you're in a cage, you're in a bout, in a boxing match or what have you. It's pretty hard to, you know, with all your adrenaline rushing, it's hard to think while you're in there. But he made the point across when he was practicing one time. He told me to take your time, pick your shots. That way you won't gas out as quick.
And I can imagine with the wrestling background that also helped you, you know, with the experience of you know, being in a one-on-one environment like that.
Oh yeah, I recommend to all the fighters out there, get some wrestling background under your belt. It will help you immensely. That's a great foundation for MMA.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things nowadays. Bellator has been focusing on recruiting a lot of former NCAA wrestlers, NCAA champions. And do you feel that's going to really benefit their organization?
And who's this for?
Bellator.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like to see a lot more wrestlers out there. I like heck a lot more wrestlers out there. I mean, wrestlers have a more better advantage than anybody else out there, except for the jiu-jitsu guys. That's a toss-up. I put my money on the wrestlers.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things of, like, they recently signed Logan Storley, who was with Minnesota, and then Ramiro Cotton, who had won a couple national titles for Nebraska. So, I mean, I agree with you. Wrestlers with the background like that are just, I mean, that's going to help the sport immensely.
Yeah, most exactly. I mean, it's wrestling season now. I got a tournament today and I got a tournament tomorrow. I mean, it's the best time of the year.
Exactly.
They say Christmas is the best time of the year, but no, it's wrestling season.
Your first UFC performance against Harry Moskowitz, winning a knockout. Yeah. What was that one like? Because like you said, as you progressed in your career, you became more patient and focused. What was that experience like, the first one?
Well, that was most of the biggest stage I've ever been on. And, you know, I was more than excited to be there, and trainers was telling me just take it like a regular fight. Don't let the hype get to you. Just get in there and do your thing, and it'll all fall in place.
A couple UFC fights later, probably your most famous win against Ron Waterman.
He's too old, man. Oh yeah, that was a story in itself. I weighed about 387 pounds, 13 pounds away from 400. And on the normal scale, the scale to see the doctor, those old metal ones, only goes up to 350. So I went down to one of those, what the heck was that called? It's a place here in Toledo, Iowa, right next to where I live. It's like a grain place where they weigh trucks. I was like, what the hell, I'll ask. And I asked, and then they said, yeah, jump on there.
Oh, wow.
387 pounds. So I had to get down to 350. That was one of the stipulations. That was in the contract that Monty said, well, you have to get under 350 or they won't let you fight in the UFC again. I said, all right. So I moved in. Monty said, you can move in with me. So I lived with Monty for, about 2 or months,
Mm-hmm.
and just trained and worked, and Pat worked me, and everybody worked me. Everybody beat the crap out of me every day. And I'll tell you what, for the first month there, my body was sore and tired, and I mean, from jiu-jitsu to wrestling to boxing, what I hated was the sparring on Fridays. I always had to spar the kickboxers and boxers, and they pounded me immensely, relentlessly. My leg still hurts from getting kicked by Mark Hansen.
With being 2-1 in the UFC, I always wondered, why was that your last UFC fight?
I was interested in becoming I really was interested in becoming a professional wrestler. And I guess I figured I think I need a break. I mean, I bought the UFC, which was the top tier at the time, top shelf at the time, and I'm going to give this a try. I've always watched pro wrestling when I was a little boy, and thought I'd give that a try.
Oh, neat. What organization did you end up working with?
I ended up working out in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and I worked out. What's his name helped me out, and we lived with him. Brad Kohler.
Oh, neat.
He was doing some.
Yeah.
He was doing some pro wrestling at the time too, and he said, "Come on up, stay with me, and we can." Well, we did some training. And traveled quite extensively up there, but it just wasn't what I expected.
Oh yeah, it's a lot more. Wow, I mean, intense than people give it credit for, because, a lot of times they come from a real fighting background. Like I had Dan Severn on about a week or so ago, and he was telling me about how he had more injuries in professional wrestling than he ever did in any of his fights.
Oh yeah, you can get hurt. I mean, especially your back getting thrown around like that.
Mm-hmm. But that's awesome that you'd worked with Brad Kohler. I mean, that is one heck of a scary tag team, the two of you all.
It'd be scary now.
Exactly, yeah, because he just put on that Gender Wars pay-per-view and is working with his combo hitter all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Things are looking up for old Brad.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah, he's been doing some neat stuff. But yeah, I agree that heck, even nowadays, yeah, there ain't too many guys that would want to stand across the ring from the two of you all.
Thank you.
You mentioned you coach wrestling. Who do you coach for?
I coach for the East Marshall Mustangs since the little kids program,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been doing that for a while.
Oh, nice.
I volunteered with the varsity one time, but just didn't work out at one point, so I just stuck with the kids. And
yeah, the little kids are much better to deal with.
Oh yeah,
high school kids can be such punks some days. But yeah, that's awesome that you're giving back to the community and helping out with youth wrestling like that, and just kind of helping to build the sport. That's great.
Yeah, I love wrestling. In fact, I'm starting up my old club. I started a wrestling club back in 88, 89, 99, 192. Out here in Meskwaki, of my tribe. And now, I had one parent. The parent I coached in wrestling. He wants his kids now, so I'm working on second generation now.
Oh, nice. So with the UFC, MMA, Bellator, that kind of thing, do you watch any of those events?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch tonight. That's gonna be the battle, that heavyweight battle tonight. I mean, I'm still watching. I just, with the prices of that, I just wish they'd give us all us pioneers free show once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, they should have like a membership card if you're an alum. That.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, since we didn't get no Fight of the Night awards back then.
Exactly.
That'd be perfect. I'd love that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I get the chance, I'll mention it to him. I was going to say, I've done a lot with Bellator. Unfortunately, I haven't got to do too much with the UFC program itself, but with the individual fighters, work with them on a regular basis. But yeah, that is a good idea. So, what's next for you? What projects do you have going on? Do you're planning on writing a book or anything neat like that?
Nothing too exciting. I'm just a regular chief, I guess. I don't. I coach high school football. I'm always looking for high school football. I mean, I'm always looking for an edge. I'm always going to coaches clinics. I travel. I got called to Oklahoma one time, and I just could not make it to go do a clinic. Writing a book, that crossed my mind at one time. I mean, I knew how to write one. I definitely start because I had an interesting upbringing.
Exactly. And, I mean, that's the neat thing about books. You don't actually have to write it yourself. The trick is finding one of them, people to write it with you.
Nice. Yeah, somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Because, I'm not a big writer myself, but I kept trying to get my father-in-law, because he had an interesting background, and kept trying to get him to do that as well. And unfortunately, he missed out on the opportunity. But, yeah, I mean, with your story, it could be quite a great book, and then, who knows, maybe even transferred into a movie. But yeah, tell us about your football team. What are you, the head coach, assistant coach? What positions do you focus on coaching?
I'm the assistant coach for the offensive linemen and defensive linemen, also the defensive ends. I've been coaching this coming year will be my 16th year. I should have picked it up earlier. But I coach O linemen, the D linemen, the fundamentals.
Exactly.
How to block, how to reach block. And I love it. I freaking love it.
That's awesome. Still being able to give back and just help the next generation enjoy themselves and hopefully find some success. Have you had any players recruited?
In this small community, there's hardly any players. I mean, we play 8-man, and
oh my!
Last year, my first year here, I've coached elsewhere before, but this is my first year coaching at my community school. And I was told that we had 16 players, and that's the most players that Meskwaka's ever had since they started playing football.
Oh my! That must.
So I hope that continues.
Definitely continues to grow. Yeah, that's awesome. That it's progressing like that. Before you go, what social media, what ways can fans learn more about you and your coaching and your MMA career?
Well, I really don't have I don't have anything as far as a web page or anything, but shoot, just get out there and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any kids that are out for sports, wrestling, football, track, basketball, whatever, get them in the weight room. Get them in the weight room. It will help, I guarantee.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief, and we'd love to have you again on the show in the future.
That would be awesome. I'd enjoy that.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.